All right, g'day, hi, and welcome. Just finished cleaning out my truck. So I wanted to make this video for a little while now because I have two really cool guitars here to show you, and just to compare what you're getting for the money, right? And in this corner here, leaning up against my Fender Hot Rod Deluxe, is my Jackson JS32 Flying V and Randy Rhoads model. And this is in the leaning up against the Mesa Boogie is the Jackson Pro Mod RR5T. T for tune-o-matic bridge, not for tremolo, although you can get this guitar with a Floyd on it. And this is a Pro Mod. It's Randy Rhoads model as well, obviously. And basically, that was a $400 guitar, I think taxes and all, when I bought it in 2015 from Long and McQuaid. And I got this from The Arts Store just outside Toronto. I think not in Sarnia, but they're somewhere around there. And this was about, it was just a little under $1,600 by the time it got to my door, although it was free shipping. So I think it was like it was like $1279.99 plus tax and then whatever. And if you look at both guitars, there's an awful lot of similarities, obviously, because they're the same type of model, just different grade levels. But there's more similarities than you would imagine, even at the difference in prices. But there's also a lot of differences that, you know, why you would pay almost 4 times the price for this guitar over this guitar. Now, that guitar, okay, the JS32, we'll go through the specs in a second, but that guitar basically, I bought it as a jam night guitar. I wanted a Floyd. It's an entry level Floyd. It does the job. Like, I mean, they're crude, but they work. There's little tricks you could do to them to make them work better. And that guitar has been a good guitar for the money. No complaints whatsoever. This guitar is definitely probably the best sounding metal guitar I've ever owned. And probably it's not the best playing guitar I've ever owned. I mean, my Gibson 61 reissues, they're actually better playing guitars, but we're splitting hairs here. That said, this thing is a player and a half. It is a phenomenal guitar. Just overall, it's pretty tough to beat if you want a metal guitar. And I'll get into some of the differences here. So we'll try to keep it like a part 1, part 2, but I'll try to keep the videos kind of short. But let's go for the specs. So JS32, you've got a 25.5 scale maple neck, maple fingerboard, 24 fret, 14 to 16 compound radius, or is it 12? I think it's 14 to 16 degree compound radius. So basically rounder here, flatter down there. So better make it easier for chords, flatter for shredding and string bending. The flatter really doesn't make it that much more of a difference for the fretting, but when you start doing crazy string bends, a more rounded neck sometimes frets out on you, where the flatter necks don't fret out as easy, meaning your notes hang on a little longer. Both have the same jumbo frets, exactly the same frets. This guitar does not have dressed frets like my Gibsons. The tuners are exactly the same. That has a basswood or a poplar body. This has an alder body. Those are the Jackson high output pickups. Basically, they're bass model pickups. They're like a medium output. They're not like super outrageously hot, but yet they're not, you know, they handle effects okay. They do okay clean. They do okay, obviously, you know, compressed and, you know, high gain and whatever. But they're not the clearest, they're not the muddiest, they do the job. Same tones and volumes, exact same. I don't know what the difference is in the pots, if there is any difference, same toggle switch. Tuners, like I say, are the same. They're the Jackson Grover tuners, both guitars. And obviously this has a Jackson licensed Floyd Rose on it, which is the, you know, the cheaper Floyd Rose. Again, with a little bit of tweaking, another video for another time, but you can tweak these things to actually be just as good as a Floyd Rose 1000. As it's just they're not built as quite as nice of materials, and the fine tuners are a little more crude, whatever. I've had really good Floyds and I've had these kind of Floyds, and at the end of the day, if you tweak them a little bit, they both do the same job. It's just, you know, it's a little, you got to do a little more for that one. This is obviously a fixed bridge, and with the alder body and bolt-on neck through construction. So I know I'm doing some crossovers here. Now for this guitar, you've got maple neck ebony fingerboard, 22 frets instead of 24. That has so that's a 2-octave range guitar. This is a 22 fret, but sometimes you actually will prefer a 22 fret guitar over a 24 fret. I'll make a total separate video of why, because again, I don't want to get too sidetracked. Everything is pretty much the same, except for when we get to the body. Is alder instead of poplar, which poplar has basically the tonal qualities of a rotten tree stump. I know there's some people don't believe in tone woods whatsoever, but it is a thing. Is it a significant thing? It's a thing. If you can't hear the difference, don't worry about it. This is neck through body. Neck through body, you get better sustain. You get all that stuff. The other thing is this neck has a single truss rod being bolt on as well. This has a truss rod plus 2 graphite rods to help stiffen it. That said, I've had this guitar. I haven't been on stage with it yet, but I've jammed with friends and stuff like that, and I've had it since like I say 2015, and I've not had a single issue with warping or anything like that. So, you know, it's pretty good. Profiles. That has the fast taper neck, the slim tapers, kind of like an Ibanez Wizard, where it's really flat and fast. It is a C-shaped neck. Both of them are a C-shaped neck. That one's really flat, really fast. The fingerboard's the same on this, compound radius, 14 to 16 compound radius. It's just you're missing the 2 frets. That's it. The other thing is that this guitar has a slightly knobbier, rounder neck. It is a C-shaped neck. It's a thin neck, but not quite as thin as that. You would think this would have the thinner neck, but because of the heel joint and all that, the way they wouldn't be able to taper it like that without it having a weird kind of something weird going on around here. So they kept it a little bit thicker. That said, not an issue. If you can't play well on this guitar, it's not the guitar. If you cannot play well on this is one of the best guitars I've ever owned. Arguably the best guitar I've ever owned. And I've had some pretty cool guitars, guys. And it's just like, if this can't get it out, you do not have it in you. That's all I'll say. That said, anything I can play on this, I can play on that. Like, you know, like there's no real big difference in playability. Both guitars play exceptionally well. That's one great thing about the Jacksons. It almost doesn't matter what price point you get them at. They all play well. I'm sure there's some made on the Monday or the Friday that are kind of shit, but with Jackson, I know it's a lot of hit and miss with quality control, regardless of price range. So always be careful what you're buying when you get a Jackson. But when you get a good one, and I got 2 good ones, you need not want. How am I doing for time here? Okay, I'll make a part 2.